Okay, so yesterday was a day off. Tuesday, we talked about surface area of prisms. Any questions on that stuff? Just add up all the sides. That's the main idea. Okay? All right. So today we're going to talk about surface area of a cylinder. So first, definition. A cylinder is a prism in which the bases and all cross sections parallel to it are circles. So remember what a prism is. A prism is just a 3D figure that has two parallel congruent bases, and all the cross sections parallel to that are also congruent to the base. So this is the same deal, except all these cross sections and the bases are circles, congruent circles. That's a cylinder. Okay, so if you're trying to calculate the surface area of a cylinder, you can break it up into like 3 pieces, right? The surface area is really equal to a circle, which you can think of as like the top of this, plus a circle, which you can think of as like the bottom of the cylinder, plus this rectangular sidewall, which you can think of that as like being like, if you take this cylinder and like cut it with scissors up the edge of it and unroll it, it's just this little cylinder, right? Or this rectangle rather. So this is just the lateral area of the cylinder, or the sidewalls. Okay? So obviously this, if I give the cylinder some dimensions, like let's say this is R, radius of the base, and let's say this is H, the height of the cylinder. The circles are easy to calculate their area, it's just pi r squared. So this is pi r squared. This is also pi r squared. For the rectangular lateral area, this is H, right? It's just the height of the cylinder, right? Because if I cut it perpendicular to the base straight up, that's the same thing as the height of the cylinder, right? How can I get the width of this rectangle?
Based on the diameter of the circle?
Not diameter, circumference.
Oh,
it's the circumference of the circle, right? Good, yeah. So if I think about the distance from here, like around to there, that's really the same distance as from here to there, right? So the width of this rectangle is really just the circumference of the circle. What's the formula for circumference of a circle?
Pi r.
2 pi r. So this is just 2 pi r. So the total area of the lateral sidewalls of this cylinder are length times width, which is 2 pi r times h. Okay, so if I summarize all of what I've written so far, I can say that the surface area is really equal to 2 times pi r squared, right? Pi r squared for the top, pi r squared for the bottom, 2 pi r squared, plus 2 pi r times h. Right? So this first part of the formula is the top and bottom, bases. And the second part is the lateral area, 2 pi r/h. Okay? That's the formula you need to know for cylinders when you're calculating surface area. So, for example, if I said a can of soup, is shaped like a cylinder, and let's say the diameter, or the radius rather, is 2 inches. And the height of the can is 5 inches. And the question was, how much aluminum is required to make this can?
Which might be based on the depth. Oh.
I'm not sure what you were asking.
I was thinking like the actual amount of like metal, and then I was like, because I was thinking you wanted to know it in pounds, but that was
Oh, okay, all right. So how much aluminum is required to manufacture the can? I don't even know if soup cans are made out of aluminum. Probably not. Probably made out of steel or something. I don't know. Who cares? So the answer here, I mean, it's the surface area. So the surface area would be 2 pi times 2 squared, 2 pi r squared for the bottom, pi r squared for the top, plus 2 pi rh, 2 pi times 2 times 5. So this is the width of the rectangular sidewall if you unroll it. This is the height of the rectangular sidewall if you unroll it. Okay? If the formula makes logical sense to you, then it's really nothing to memorize, and that makes it a lot easier, right? If you're just memorizing these random symbols, it makes it harder. Okay? So this ends up being 2 times pi times 4, which is 8 pi. And then 2 times pi times 10, which is 20 pi. So the answer would be, it requires 28 pi square inches of aluminum. And if they wanted it to the nearest 10th or 100th or 1,000th, that's easy, right? You would just use your calculator. So, for example, if they said round your answer to the nearest 1,000th, 28 pi, the nearest 1,000th would be 87.965, right? Around that, 87.965. Square inches. Okay. Now there's a couple ways that they might try and confuse you in these problems or mess you up. One way they might try and confuse you is instead of giving you the radius, they might give you the diameter. That's not that big, right? Like if they said, here's a cylinder, like that. And let's say they told you that this was 12 feet. And this is 4 feet. Okay, you just have to remember that if the diameter is 12 feet, then the radius is actually 6 feet, right? So this is 6 feet. And then just apply the formula from there. So the surface area would be 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So this would end up being 2 times 36 is 72 pi plus 2 times 24 is 48 pi. So this ends up being 125 square feet. So that's one way they'll try and mess you up. They'll give you the diameter instead of the radius. Another way they'll try and mess you up is they won't ask you to find the surface area of the whole thing. Okay? They might say, for example, you have a cylinder with no top. Okay? How would this formula be different if the cylinder didn't have a top? Yeah, there's only one circle, so you just ignore the 2. It would just be pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Or another way they might do it is they might say, find the lateral area of the cylinder. How would the formula be different if they're asking you to find the lateral area of the circle? Yeah, just the 2 pi r h. Okay, so you have to read the directions carefully. Sometimes they'll say, find the surface area. Sometimes they'll describe a situation where there's only one base and not the top. Or sometimes they'll have a situation where you don't want to include either base. So you have to just read the directions. Decipher it from there. Any questions? Okay, so the homework, there's actually 2 assignments. There's the Delta Math assignment and there's also an IXL assignment. The Delta Math assignment is just called surface area of a cylinder. The IXL assignment is called surface areas of cylinders and prisms. And it involves both those things. Okay? The Delta Math assignment is actually really short. The IXL assignment is just like a normal IXL assignment. And remember, the 90 is 100, so you have to go all the way to 100. Okay? All right.
Do you have a charger I can borrow or no?
The Chromebook charger, I don't. Sorry. If it's about to die, I know that you can borrow one from technology.
Yeah, I think I can get one in my next class.
Okay.
So I'll just,